So the fact that Miro has an infinite canvas is something that some people really like. And let me start by a little bit of my background. I started using Miro when it was called real-time board 2 or 3 years ago. And I thought that the infinite canvas was really powerful. And it is. And our brain is not infinite. So having an infinite canvas is good up to a certain point. Let me show you a large board that I worked with. So this is a canvas for an open space that I facilitated with about 150 people, and it was a 2-day open space, and there was a few sessions going on in parallel. Now we are looking at this at a 2% zoom. So if you click on that, you will be able to kind of zoom in and see how much space people had to do their work. When I add a post-it note of a regular size, this is kind of like to give you a little bit of a frame of reference. Now, if imagine this infinite canvas. Imagine if you had like a 5 days, having everything on one board might be useful, or it might be very confusing. My preference is usually to keep the load on the single board to a minimum. In the past, I've run multiple iteration retrospectives in Miro, and I was actually keeping everything in one board. So the last iteration was always above the current one. And that I felt was a little bit confusing and not really super useful. So instead, what I started doing is switch to a solution where every retrospective had its own board. And so if I wanted to go back to last week, I would just open a different board. It's a lot of information, and I feel this infinite canvas is kind of overwhelming, and it becomes difficult to navigate. I feel that we're getting into the navigation issue that I feel is connected with this. Navigating large boards can be overwhelming, and sometimes I see people saying, oh yeah, just go to the left, you see that thing, click on it. I think that might work for some people, but I think it's really confusing when you have things this size to just describe where to go. And you can try and do that, and that can work. Like in this board, for example, I created each room with the name of a room. So there was like the sofa for the living room, the studio, the kitchen with a little fridge. So you can create icons that allows you to navigate a little bit. The other thing I forgot to mention is that every room, every space for this open space had a different color. So for example, the living room had that yellow, the garden had that green. So not just the icons were a way to reference where you are, but also the colors. So when you were here and looking at sessions, you'll be able to mirror that in the wider board through the colors and the icons. And I think it's very effective to use the frame navigation. And so I'll talk about that next. So infinite canvas can be good. You can store as much as you want. Another thing to keep in mind is if you have a lot of images, all those images will be fetched, but we'll talk about bandwidth utilization later in a separate segment. But yeah, infinite canvas, pretty good. From Miro. Mural has a canvas that has to be resized by you. So if you run out of space, you can enlarge by just dragging the corners. One thing that I believe is still present is a limit on the size in Mural. Yeah, exactly, 60,000. So I think that is the limit for this. So, bloop. I mean, we're zooming out at 1%. This is the size. If you kind of like, let's add a 3x3 sticky note. That is how small it is. You can always reduce those things as well. So keep that in mind. That is an option. If you are on a smaller canvas, you can resize your post-it notes, and the content will also resize. So the text, and this is true for both Miro and Mural. You add a post-it note and you add some text, it has a default size, but if you reduce it, the text will go down. So this is both tools are on par in terms of that. But going back to the concept of infinite canvas, so this is the maximum size, and for some this could be a problem. It hasn't been for me. Frankly, I don't see where this could be a problem. I think linking to different boards is a more than adequate solution in Mural. But at this point, you see we cannot drag those corners anymore. You reach 60,000 pixels by 60,000, and that is it. If you're not there yet, you should be able to. Oh, it looks like it's stopping us from using that resizing option. Yeah. So this is a thing that I notice every now and then. Mural is a little bit more buggy. So I've noticed more bugs in Mural, and this is an example of it. I should be able to resize it, but once it's like that, well, forget it. And this can be very frustrating. I've actually heard people complaining, I do not know how to resize it. And this could be it. It could just be one of those little bugs that crop in. So, I mean, if we go back to default, yeah, it looks like we're kind of back to we can drag the icon and increase the size. And let's confirm that 60,000 pixel is the maximum that it can go to. But if we can break that, it looks like that is not going above anymore. And 20,000. I mean, let's keep dragging. Let's see what happens. Looks like it's not going more than that. And we reached what? You see this thing? This thing that is happening right now, my mouse not being able to actually click it, that can be annoying. You see how, I guess maybe if I zoom in, it'll be easier. Yeah, so zooming in actually can fix that. And so yeah, 20,000 at the top. So yeah, once you reach the 60,000 by 60,000, Mural runs out of gas, runs out of juice. So you cannot increase this anymore. At least, let's see. Yeah, it looks like the height is still 20,000. That's pretty interesting. So you see, like, let's do 60,000 and let's click done. And if I click that, you see it still says 26,000. Well, that's obviously a bug. So yeah, Mural, pretty interesting behavior just now. So if I increase it again to 60,000, it is clearly 60,000. If I go in and I try to resize it for some reason, loop, it goes back to 26,000. So you'll find behavior like this, honestly. And I'm not gonna edit this out of this review, of this content specifically, because this is a bug today, which could be fixed tomorrow by the Mural team. In my opinion, this is part of like online facilitation in this day and age. We need to be aware that those bugs will crop in, know how to handle them, and carry on. Both Miro and Mural have them. I've noticed Mural displaying a few more, and maybe in this review they'll pop out. I'll leave them in there because I think that is important to be aware that is never going to be perfect. There is always going to be, this is software development, they're releasing cycles. I believe every week, every few days probably. And so yeah, you might run into those issues, and as online facilitators, we need to be able to handle them. I do not believe in a perfect tool that is completely bug-free. And probably because I was a software developer for 20 years. So I know that bugs crop in, but yeah, this seems to be one that is fixed by simply going back to the size.